Evening Blades. So I've titled this one Hollywood Heartbreak because we have completely burst the bubble of the perennial underdog who have had millions of pounds pumped into them by their Hollywood owners, and what a magical story it is that they throw millions and millions at a team to get them out of a league where their competitors have got a budget of 100 grand. So don't come at me with underdog stories. Yes, they're underdogs in the cup against those big boys, and we're now going to be underdogs against Spurs in the next round because we see you, Spurs. For somebody who weren't bothered, and I genuinely weren't bothered, I didn't want to go out to Wrexham. I think obviously it has its own stigma of going out to a non-league team. But the way that game unfolded were almost perfect. The crowd, their fans riled me from beginning. I just think there's a bit of an arrogance about it. Not just the fact that the media is biased. When you've got referee giving them absolutely everything. Eki came out afterwards saying that he thought he were auditioning for a part on Disney Plus because it were ridiculous. Some fouls they were giving them, some bookings we got, I thought were ridiculous. Decisions. There were a penalty that weren't for them in terms of Anel. Yes, he fouls him, but it's a yard outside the box. Obviously, ball, I think it's Toza's arm. It's certainly one of their men's arm in box from close range. It's in an unnatural position. It's a definite handball and a penalty, not given. Bottled it. Ref bottled it. Their sense of entitlement really wound me up. And to be fair, the whole story, as I say, the story arc of this epic movie adventure. I can't wait to see that documentary because Adam Davis, who had a stinker, let's be right, in first game, fully redeemed himself with a penalty save that would have seen them go 2-1 up, rightly or wrongly, because Norwood's definitely was a penalty, let's be right. I thought several played well. I thought Koulibaly looked good in his debut. He faded second half, I thought, but it's one of the best games I've seen Sander play in a long time. And yes, you can look at standard of opposition, but if you're thinking about building confidence at team, I thought Ozzy had a decent game. I thought Billy looked okay, missed some sitters. We can't forget that. I know he scored what essentially was the winner, but he missed some sitters, did Billy, which is obviously a concern. But if we're talking about momentum, from a game that shouldn't have really had much on it, other than it's obviously a cut run, but in terms of, I didn't think this would bleed into our league form at all, but I tend to think differently now, just with the way that game went. The thing that makes me laugh, though, they're talking about huge underdog stories and giant killings and all this sort of thing. Well, we beat Wrexham, and that's all that's been in news is that Wrexham. Grimsby beat Luton, who are fourth in Championship, 3-0. Absolutely hammered them. Where's their coverage? I haven't seen that anywhere. I just think it's a media circus when it comes to Wrexham, and to be fair, up the Notts County. So this naturally leads on to a couple of other subjects. So this is a bit of off the pitch. So Billy sparked a bit of controversy with his post-match comments, basically saying, I'm glad we beat them. I think they were out of order and disrespectful, referring loosely to the social media posts I think that the club, that Wrexham had posted out, but also alluding to the fact that some of their players had been wind up a little bit as well and shown some disrespect. So I love it. I love it when Billy gives a bit back. He's taken some stick from Simon Jordan on TalkSport. I heard that live today. And Simon Jordan starts off and he's going, and you get players like Billy Sharp and Ollie McBurney who think they've got, and Ollie McBurney's gone on Twitter, and I won't post it here because it's not very PG, but posted a very funny response to that, so you can go find that yourselves if you want. Wrexham were Basher's 500th professional game. Unbelievable achievement from the Piston that is Chris Basham. And to celebrate that, they've got a new one of our own podcast out with Paul Walker. Obviously, you've seen these done before with club legends Tony Curry, Chris Wilder, Brian Dean, Billy Sharp. So this one's Basher's turn. I haven't listened to it yet, so I can't tell you any stories or quips that come out of it, but obviously I'll be giving that a listen. Speaking of podcasts, Bogle and Brewster appeared on the No Behaviour podcast It's not one I'm familiar with, if I'm honest, and I haven't listened to it yet. As I say, I have been working today, just picking this stuff up as it's all come out fresh, but I'll be giving that a listen as well, just to see if anything Blades related is mentioned. It's just one to let you know that's out there. Going to be doing a bit more work with Sheffield United away boys. Thanks again to Nick.
Oh, friend! Oh, new friend! Oh, friend! Please be my friend!
Who has arranged for me to do some bits on their channel. They obviously like what we're doing over here, and anything we can do to get eyes on our platform is great. So I'm appreciative that they think I can contribute in some small way. But the first topic that we're going to be looking at is, how do we replace Jack O'Connell? You can't, essentially. Spoiler alert, but you can't. It's just, we cover all sorts of things though. We'll be looking at, will he come back? Who's best to replace him? Have we got anybody at the club that's ready-made? So give it a watch. It'll be coming out on the 13th, this coming Monday. And speaking of Jock, he posted a cryptic tweet on his Instagram. No, that is Jock. It's not me. It's Jock. I know you can't clearly see him. Exciting news? Don't tease me, Jock. There's a little, for the keen-eyed ones amongst us, there's a little DNA symbol there, and I know that could mean anything, but I would lean more towards Alex Greenwood being pregnant with her first child. So if you thought it would come back related, I would just hold those thoughts just for now, and we'll see. We'll see. You know, obviously we're all praying that he can make a comeback, so fingers crossed. So I'm not going to look any further than Swansea. I'm not going to talk about the Middlesbrough game at midweek, because I can't think about it, and nor should we really. We need to get Swansea out of the way and make sure we're at least 10 points clear of Borough come that game. But before we do, I've not quite made it over the 600 mark, which I wanted to do because of the old copyright thing. But I've found a way around it, to be fair. So today I had a go at making my first YouTube short, which is like a short clip that you use to essentially advertise what you're doing on YouTube. But here's my attempt.
Well, now's the time is now. Sing my song. I'm gonna round the world, gonna find my girl, I'm on my way. I've been this way 10 years to the day I'm gonna ramble on.
And you'll see in there that I managed to slip it in without the copyrighted music. So if I get copyrighted now for this video, then I know it's for my intro and my outro music, which would be an absolute kicker because I really like it. And it's had a lot of positive feedback as well. So watch this space. Hopefully I don't get copyrighted because I haven't played that licensed music within that clip. And if I don't get copyrighted, then I know I'm all right to use the intro and outro music. But we'll see, because I want to keep it. And as always, please subscribe, spread the word. I've started up on S2 forum, but I don't know what I'm doing, if I'm honest. I've put myself out there in terms of trying to get Ramble circulated and more eyes on it, but if you could spread the word for me, it's always appreciated. So now we come to the news that we've been waiting for, and I will try and do a follow-up video on this because Dozy is the thing that interests everybody at the minute with the takeover, but this is hot off the press, and it's largely thanks to the Bladesman on Twitter, who's transcripted the snippets and the main bits out of Dozy's appearance on Rio Ferdinand's 5 podcast. So that's out now. I'll link it in the description below. So I'm just going to read you some snippets from it. He describes being in a Sheffield pub 6 months ago and feeling the energy of the city. He said he's wanted to buy an English club for a while, and he looked at Crystal Palace at one point. He says he's loved football since he was a kid, and the chance to buy United admittedly was opportunistic because it was too good a deal to turn down. Just a few weeks after meeting Prince Abdullah, they met with the lawyers at the Dorchester in London to discuss the sale, and that a sale agreement were agreed within weeks of that meeting. He can't announce when the sale will go through because they've signed an agreement that there'll be a joint statement when that happens. He says he's answered all of the EFL's questions. They sent him lots of questions and he's answered everything really quickly, he said. So he's open to more questions if they've got any for him. And the bit that's quite exciting is he describes himself as a very pragmatic businessman. He's got short-term aims. He won't overpromise, but he wants to look at the academy, the training ground, the Sheffield United fan experience, and also the hotel. He says he wants to make Sheffield United a world-class club and wouldn't rule out fans having some part to play in the ownership at some point. Despite discussing he's got some short-term plans, he says he'll be very committed to Sheffield United and the city of Sheffield, and it's a matter of when he takes over, not if. His company generates over $1 billion a year in revenue, and he describes himself as being very liquid. He confirmed that he paid a deposit to the club but won't confirm how much, and that's fair enough. He feels he's had to step up and speak out because of the way the press has portrayed him. Feels like he hadn't had a chance to have his say. So this is what he's doing now. He were asked if he'd replace Eke, and he said he doesn't like doing things that aren't good for the club, so if it isn't the right move, it won't happen. He wants to bring in great players to add value to the club, saying that you don't get to the Premier League just to go back to where you've come from. And on that note, he says that playing in the Championship is okay and we've got good players, but he will bring in more players to support and help us kick on, essentially. He goes on to say that when he takes over, he wants the board to be diverse and include women, men, English, African, Asian, just a diverse board. And just to wrap up where I am currently on getting up to speed with this, he just says he didn't have a club growing up. He only supported Nigeria, but now all his family have got Sheffield United things from head to toe. So he's looking forward to watching us with his family. It all sounds really positive, certainly like he's very excited. I think if we try and be positive about this news, it can only, it's exciting times, isn't it? Let's not try and put a negative spin on it. Let's just ride the wave and see where it goes, because it's all fantastic sort of speculation and excitement really moving forward. So if he delivers on half of those things, well, the sky's the limit, isn't it? So we switched to Swansea, the second of our 3 home games in a row. They lost 4-3 in last minute to Birmingham last week, and it's not looking good at Swansea at the moment. Manager Russell Martin's come out and said he's not been happy with their January business, which, to be fair, they look a little bit like they're in a bit of turmoil. They haven't improved in January, which sets them all up, doesn't it, to come to Bramall Lane and get something. Eke's warned today that they're a good team, they're a possession team. We've come out on top last couple of times we've played them, but we can't take them lightly because they're so good in possession. And that's true to a degree. The first 11 isn't a bad side at all. It's just the depth I think that they're lacking. But I'm asking you, and it's only going to be a quick one this time, but what's your team? So this is my team, and I think it picks itself, if I'm honest. Wes in goal. Back 3 currently strongest available. I say available because I think Clark's an upgrade on Robbo. To be fair, that's a strong 3 at the moment. They're doing well. Bogle comes back in, as does Max Lowe at wing back. I've got Norwood sitting, and I've got McAtee and Sander in front. I don't know whether they'll be as advanced as I've got them here, but one can hope. And I've got McBurney and Ndiaye back up top together. I think that's as close to, that's certainly the strongest team I think we can play. I think there's only Clark for me that comes in to upgrade that, and you can interchange Tommy Doyle with McAtee in terms of fitness. But I think that's very close to our strongest 11. There's a chance that Fleck makes the bench, which would be good to see. Get slowly but surely getting some bodies back. I think it's Jebo's last game of his suspension, so I don't expect to see him in the squad, obviously. But yeah, let me know what you think. What's your team? Do you agree with my set? I think it's one of the easiest teams to pick this season, if I'm honest. Just sort of lower numbers that we've got, but obviously the quality that we've got for those that are starting as well. So let me know what you think. If you'll please like, subscribe and share. I think we'll have too much for Swansea, hopefully, but we shall see. I said that about Rotherham, so I'm not going to dive in and give a full-blown prediction, but I'll be there again on Saturday. Nervous as ever, because I weren't that nervous on Tuesday night, but I will be on Saturday, because it's the league and it means so much. So come on, you Blades, get us off at line as soon as we can, so I can just start enjoying my football again. Come on, you red and white Wizards, up the Blades.